Hello, hello. Welcome to the Partners Podcast. I'm Brendan Shu, founder of ACRE Partner, and today I'm joined by Jonathan Corbett of Triad Real Estate Media. Thank you for joining us. Super excited to have you, and appreciate your time.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah. And so this podcast is a space for us to hold genuine conversations with entrepreneurs that have been crushing it, killing it in their spaces. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the mind of Jonathan, a business owner that has scaled his business to do over $250,000 a year consistently as a solo team. And lessons he's learned along the way and insights that you can use to optimize your own business. Something that's very exciting about Jonathan is he also has his own course and community where he teaches other real estate photographers that are trying to follow in his footsteps how to achieve the same level of success. So without further ado, once again, we have Jonathan here. Jonathan, why don't we jump in with an introduction? How'd you get into all this?
Sure. Thanks, Brendan. I actually got started way back when I was still a student in college because I hated what I was studying and I wanted to have some type of backup plan. And I knew that I wanted to do something else. I wasn't sure what it was. I never thought that photography could be a realistic career because a lot of people are told that, you have to go to college and do 4 years or you have to get a real job. And lots of times your parents or the people who are talking to you will tell you that photography is not a very real opportunity and you shouldn't seriously consider it because that's kind of like a loser's job or something like that. But it wasn't until I started, crunching numbers and looking at, how much someone who gets paid $50,000 a year actually makes in a single day, right? Because it's not that much. It's like $200 a day. And I was like, man, if I could just do one photo shoot a day, I could make that easily. And I thought at the time that I could definitely do 3 or 4 shoots a day if I found out a way to do it. But back then it was, 2009, 2010. There was no YouTube channels teaching how to do real estate photography. So I had to really get out there and experiment, take risks. But I wanted to do it. So I wanted to do it more than anything. So I took the risk, took a lot of risk and figured it out. And I actually learned some pretty good ways of doing it.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely gonna have a lot of questions in store to really dive a little bit deeper in what you learned along the way. What was your first point in business where you're like, wow, I have something here, and it wasn't just a hobby, it wasn't just a pipe dream?
Sure. It was really, I was interested in a lot of visual arts. So I would hang out a lot with film majors and photography majors on campus. And lots of times I would talk to the students and they just really didn't seem to have a very good sense of where they were going or where the opportunity was. A lot of them had this idea that they just wanted to move out to LA and bust tables and hope that they could find a way into the industry, like Hollywood type of stuff. And I thought that was all pretty interesting. But when the rubber hit the road, a lot of them wouldn't even show up to like set on time. They would release a reel and it would really not be very good at all. And I would start thinking to myself, man, I'm pretty sure I could do better than this. And I'm not even a film major. And it's not because I was cocky or I was doing something that was very good. It's just that it seemed like their stuff was really bad. So I picked up my own camera and started offering photos. And from the very beginning, I started charging more than I never shot for free ever. And I started charging more than a lot of what the film majors were. And that was a little bit of a mistake because a lot of the people who were bringing me on set to help out because I was just interested started being a lot more hostile towards me. So the industry was not very welcome, but my clients are very welcoming. So I ended up getting a lot of clients because my photography was good. even though I could feel a little bit of, you know, uh, I could feel a little bit of judgment from the haters around me. My clients didn't have any of that. And I started to make a lot more money in college than I had from a lot of the college jobs that I had on campus. Um, and that's when I really saw that, yes, there is opportunity here. So yeah, when other students were choosing me over film majors.
Yeah. And I've noticed that myself in terms of like the possibilities in real estate media. Like I personally work with a few agency owners myself that have literally gone from nothing to making over 10, 20, even $50,000 in revenue in a given month. And
Right.
that's more than most, when I was in college, I was just like, I hope I get a $65,000 job. That would
Right.
be insane. Like literally, like I would be making more than all my friends if I could land one for 65K. And
Yep.
my first job was $8.25 an hour outside of college, working at a Verizon booth selling phone plans, and then $10 an hour working at a computer store. And then I pursued my first business. So you mentioned that there's haters out there. I think that's definitely something
Sorry.
that no worries. There's haters out there. There's definitely haters that you know you just have to learn to brush them off your shoulders. But how what's your like? Why are there haters? Like, why do haters exist in your opinion?
That's a good question, honestly, man, because I try not to hate people. I really don't. When I see some people post online in Facebook groups or forums, they're saying, "Hey guys, like here's how my company did this last month or this last year." There's a lot of people out there who make a lot more money than I do. So I'm not here trying to say that I've got the most money or make the most money. I make as much money as I want to. Um, but I never feel when I see someone who's doing super well, or if I see someone share an opinion about photography that I don't necessarily agree with, it's just like, all right, they've got a really good system or they've been working really hard. Awesome. They deserve it. Right. Or if someone has an opinion and they want to edit all the photos themselves rather than outsourcing, which is probably the better decision in my opinion. That doesn't make me, pull out the keyboard and start leaving mean comments or wasting my own time uh, trying to trash somebody
Yeah.
online because I've got better things to do. So I think people hate. I don't know, dude. I think it's more representation of themselves. They don't have anything better to do with their time. I also heard, that cliche phrase that, I see some people who actually have really big real estate photography businesses. Like they'll make $500,000 or $1 million a year, and they'll take that time and resource and spend it by finding nobodies online and attacking them. It's like the more money you make, the more it makes you who you are, right? So I guess these people are just, I'm sorry, like losers to begin with, and then the more money they make, they just become a bigger loser.
Yeah.
Is
I
my
think so
opinion.
as well. Like, I think life is all about lifting people up, in whatever way possible. One of my a few foundational philosophies, leave someone better than you found them. If it's a relationship, try to learn from something. But actually, I think it's perfect that they exist, and the reason why is it makes the journey that much more interesting. Without a bad guy, there would be no superhero, right?
Right.
So
And like Logic says, what's the day without a little night kind of thing. It's if it was so
exactly.
easy, it wouldn't be all that fun.
And when you
That
look
being
at the
said,
most successful people, they have their fair share of haters. Everyone,
yeah.
from Elon Musk, the most, in my opinion, one of the most beloved human beings on earth,
Mhm.
to like Andrew Tate. Obviously, we don't have to jump into that rabbit hole, but there's a lot of people out there that they have opinions, and the opinions are polarizing, and who knows? Maybe they're not hating. They think we're hating, and maybe in some ways, it's just a little bit of irony in life that we both are on different missions and trying to spread different ideas. And sometimes I think it's about accepting, that there are people with these opinions, and you know they're just not aligned with the journey that we want to go down as. Because you're a teacher, right? Like, tell me a little bit
Right.
more. Like, you started e-course. You have students that you coach and mentor that are also looking to make $250,000 a year. Tell me a little bit more about how you got into that and why'd you pursue that.
Sure. So I'm not the first person to have released any type of online learning or course, but it bothered me that some people were releasing courses like, hey, here's how you can make $1 million a year as a real estate photographer. And they shared techniques that work. Like, it's not like these techniques are going to fail. For example, a very popular thing you see in the photography and video industry, not just real estate industry, but like Gary Vee talks about, free to fee type of things. It's just like, I feel like that's avoiding very important steps that you need to learn. So at the very beginning, you choose a path, and you're either going to be someone who is good at business and photography, or you're just at the mercy of your customer, and you hope that they see the value, and they hope, or you hope that they pay you, kind of thing. And that's not going to get you as far as you could get if from the very beginning you choose the right path and start learning how to sell, start to not being afraid of selling, and your customers' objections. You need to be able to recognize what they're most likely going to object about. Like, if you don't have a top 10 or 20 list of common objections that people ask, like, hey, how many images I get? Hey, how fast is your turnaround? But I know another photographer who charges less. These are all things you should be able to predict easily. It should not be something that you're afraid of, or taken by surprise when someone asks you about another photographer in town who doesn't charge as much as you. You should have an answer ready to go that just comes off the tongue automatically. So teaching people from the very beginning to just offer your stuff for free is really starting off on a weak foot. So yeah, that's just some of the things that I teach, and I think really need to be taught. And I didn't see it being taught. So rather than leaving a bad review or a mean comment like we were talking before, I said, if I've got a problem with the way someone else is doing it, then do it yourself and do it better.
Yeah.
So I just teach how to do real estate photography, and I teach what I believe is the best way. And I'm happy to share about some of those things if you want, just some of the common questions.
Yeah, of
But
course.
yeah, that's why I got into it. Of course, the money's nice, but I haven't actually made all that much money with it. I have 3 businesses. One of them is my real estate photography business. I recently started hiring because I want to scale beyond that and get a little bit more of a life balance, because my wife and I are trying to start a family, and I want to be home in the evenings and have the attention to the kid, right? So I did start scaling because it started making more sense for me. I also have a vacation rental that I do on the side that is another 6-figure income for me. And when I was actually a student in college, I was actually selected as a student professor to teach some of the freshmen. I've just always loved teaching. So the main motivation here is to teach the best material, to make the best photographers possibly can, to uplift the entire industry so photographers are better equipped in business and in photography skills, and also just to fulfill a little bit of a passion of my own, which is to teach others and help others.
Yeah. As a teacher myself, it's so rewarding to see the growth of your students. Like,
Yeah.
as I'm a big believer in this one saying for myself, my life philosophy which is an aspiring teacher but a forever student. Being someone who's always willing to learn, always willing to keep an open mind. Um, as someone who is veteran, is a professional, like who do you learn from these days? Like, how do you keep sharp?
The best way I have always learned, because I was homeschooled for 6 years. Like I said, when I was learning real estate photography, there was no real estate photography YouTube channel. I just had to dig into it and figure it out. My first teachers were real estate agents themselves, because I would submit my photos to them and they would say, hey, all the walls are leaning over. So I could take their feedback and be like, okay, so how do I make walls straight? And then you figure that out and you learn what keystoning is and you learn how to avoid that sort of thing. So there's people who look online to learn techniques. I look online sometimes to try to find things like, hey, I'll be doing something in Adobe Premiere. There's an error of some kind. I'll look it up on Google or YouTube, right? Of course. But lots of times I will look up something like, hey, how do you edit a hand blended bracketed photo for real estate and do it in under 3 minutes? Well, there's no videos out there that can teach you how to do that. They're all like 20 or 30 minutes long. So you kind of have to figure out some stuff for yourself and be a pioneer in some of these techniques. For example, how to find clients. What is the best way to find clients? I get so tired of seeing videos that pop up and it's answering a common question like, how do you find clients? And it's like, well, you make an Instagram account and you start messaging random people with a hashtag. It's like, okay, I know that a lot of people do that, but that is a really inefficient way of doing it. Or, cold calling people is okay, but who are you going to cold call? And what are you going to say when you do it? I find that a lot of the things I learn are very much on the front lines because I've been in the industry on the front lines shooting photography with real clients for over 10 years. So my best teacher is my experience.
Yeah, I think having the experience firsthand is something that you can't learn from a textbook. You can't
Right.
learn from even people telling you because, you know, I don't know. It's like when you're a kid and your parents like, don't touch the fire, it's hot. Don't touch the fire, it's hot. But you're like, ooh, fire, and then you touch it, you're like, oh my god, it burns. And that's when you actually learn, is when you fall on your face or you actually get burned in something. And even for myself, I've had to learn a lot of the lessons that the hard way. From a investing perspective, from a growth perspective. So that's cool that you do have that experience of 10 years, that track record of building and seeing and learning. When it comes to your current business, how do you decide when to focus on what? Because you have three things going on now, right?
Mhm.
Like how do you manage your time and attention effectively?
Sure. It's not easy. It takes an incredible amount of discipline, and some days I do better and sometimes I don't. Of course, I have days where I'm off and I don't accomplish much, right? But in general, I am a pretty efficient person. Um, the best thing I have found to do is log. So I have an app that's called ACRE that helps you log all of your time, and you can categorize your tasks into productive, unproductive, and neutral. Like if you're sleeping, that's not necessarily unproductive, and you need to sleep, right? So I have a neutral category but it's essentially a one-touch app where if you start a new task, you just press that task, and then it's tracking you. So keeping yourself accountable is really important. But one of the most important things you can do if you're really trying to get a lot done is automate as much as humanly possible. If it can be automated, do it, and do it today. Don't put it off till tomorrow. So I use things like ACRE, where I have an online scheduler. My clients don't call me to schedule; they book me online, And that online schedule knocks out like 5 birds with one stone. It schedules the appointment. It figures out what they want. It creates the invoice. It collects payment. It delivers it, right? So having systems like that is very important. But also, like with my vacation rental, I spend less than, I would say, 15 minutes a month working on the vacation rental because I have it all set up in Airbnb with pre-scripted responses. So if I have someone with a common question like, "Hey, do you guys have free firewood?" "Yes, we do. Here's where it's located." Or, "Hey, what do I do with the trash?" I just press a response and send it. And also at the beginning of the month, I send out the schedule to our cleaners, and they have exactly when they need to know to go out and turn over the property. So while even though that's producing over 6 figures a year for me, it takes zero time and effort. So learning how to automate as much as possible is the key. And a lot of people just don't do that. And it's costing you a lot of your own time and resources, but it's also killing your progress in your business. So you got to automate stuff.
That's very, very true because you only have 24 hours in a day, and if you're sleeping 8, that's actually 16. And I'm sure most people want to work an average of 8 hours a day at best
Right.
in this day and age. And there's so many.
Some
things
people
you
are
can do,
crazy. Some people of us are want to work more than that, but
so
the
the
average
only way
person is
is
not.
the only way is to automate or leverage. You're looking to growing your team as well, and I guess you have built a team in many ways through Airbnb and probably outsourcing your editing. How do you go about past the automation? How do you bring on the right team members? What is your mindset and approach there?
Sure. So there's some things you can't automate. You can automate a lot, so you shouldn't use that as an excuse. But you can't automate a second shooter, and you can't be in 2 places at once. So for a lot of years, the way I scaled my business was just continuing to raise my prices because then I would become a little bit too expensive for some of my clients, so they would just drop off. But I would keep the better clients and the clients that really valued my work. That's one way to scale up before you have to hire anybody. But eventually, you're just going to continue to create so much demand that you have to hire on. How do you find someone that's good? I like to have a few qualifiers. So if someone's not a team player, for example, and they're not willing to sign like a non-compete, even if the non-compete is not enforceable in your state, right? I'm going to have a non-compete because if the person comes and they just want to learn what I do and then start their own business, I'm not interested in having them on the team, right? And it's not like I fundamentally mistrust people, but I do know that some people are out to learn what you want to do and then become your competition. And I fully encourage them to do that, but don't try to take advantage of me and my time in order to do that. Like go out and learn it on your own. So, you just got to, I guess, screen very closely. With my vacation rental, there's lots of red flags you look out for. So if they're a local, you don't want them renting your house because why are they finding a place to rent? The truth is they're looking for a place to throw down. That's what they're looking for. So
you might not know this, but I used to be an Airbnb super host.
Okay.
And I had the coolest spot downtown Champaign, Illinois.
Right.
It was like a lofted office with LED lights and like a cool like overhang over like walkway, super cool. And I get a message saying, "Hey, there's a concert in town. We're just looking to like have an after party. Is that okay?"
Yeah.
Just the sticks.
I just lost your mic. I just lost your sound. Yeah, no problem. I'll wait on you. I can't hear you.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah, it's better. There we go.
We're going back to.
Is that the DJI mics?
Yeah, you can connect it right to your mic or your laptop, but as you can see, I'm low on power. Should have charged it more. Anyways, pause
I can
that.
hear you fine. The audio is just as good.
Yeah, the built-in mic on the MacBook is pretty good too. So we'll go back to that.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I was saying. I was a super host, and I
So
had
you
my
know
own,
some of the red flags you have to look
and
out for.
yeah, I got a call. Hey, dude, you're throwing a party. Why don't you invite me? I'm like, what party? I mean, I'm not throwing a party. I was in Chicago, and then I took a look at security cameras, and there were 300 people in this 1,500 square foot lofted, apartment office
Mm.
space, pouring out of the streets. Supposedly there were like 3 cop cars outside. I had to call my ex-girlfriend and say, "Hey, can you go break out this party and kick everyone out of my Airbnb?" Um, I have pictures of it, and
Yeah, so
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
that's a nightmare. And the same thing can happen with your business. So some of the red flags, like we were talking with the Airbnb, you don't want a local because they're most likely looking for a place to throw down. When you're looking for your first employee or just employees in general, I have found that several interviews is a must. Also, bringing them on the job for a day to see what type of work ethic they have. That saved me on several candidates, and I probably interviewed like 10 or 15 people before I hired my first employee. Um, Also, asking just to see basic things like their portfolio. Someone sent me their full portfolio, and first off, you can see whether they're a good photographer or not, because that's a obvious requirement. But they were a automotive photography. They're an automotive photographer, and they branded their name like autoerotic media or something like that. It was a really weird, like autoerotic asphyxiation. Like it was so strange. And when you have um employees that are representing your brand, you want to know that they have good judgment and they're not going to be hitting on your like female realtors, for example. So they did not get hired. I brought on people for a day that were just super lazy. I would bring them on to a shoot and I'd say, hey, just follow me and do what I do. um, and I would say, hey, I'm going to grab the camera bag, you grab the tripod, and I'll meet you at the front door. And I would get to the front door and wonder where they're at, and they're still sitting in my passenger seat texting somebody. um, and to me at the time, I was blown away. Like, what are these people that I'm attracting and interviewing? And then I realized it took a long time for me to realize that this is your average person. Finding someone who can do a simple job like real estate photography. I mean, there's some advanced things to real estate photography, but a lot of the job is showing up on time, making sure you're polite to your clients, making sure you're fun to work with. Just qualifying those 3 characteristics is incredibly hard to do. So you just got to put in legwork. And another big thing that I look for, that's a positive attribute, is detail oriented. So one of my best employees that I've hired on was a guy who used to be an auto detailer, and not just like someone who would clean your car for a few $100. He worked at a place that did high-end exotic auto detailing, where they would charge $5,000 or $6,000 just to detail your car. So we're talking very detailed. Um, the extra effort that he would put in to his shoots, to his edits, to his taking care of the customer was invaluable. It far and away unmatched in any employee I've had. And I learned a lot from that as well, to not, just take it 98%, like 100%, take it all the way. And then once you have a great edit, just go through one more time and just add that little extra 5 or 10% that takes it just beyond, right? So yeah, those are some of the things I have found that are really important.
that's what you said is really good advice because I actually believe in almost all of those things. If you're gonna hire someone, don't hire the first person you get along with that you like in an interview, like that you think looks cool or dresses like the way you would want your best friend to dress. Hire the right person for the job, and to find the right person, you're gonna have to go through at least 10 candidates,
Right.
and you should go through 10 candidates. Don't you want the best person out of 10 people, and not just the best person, first person you came across? And then your other two pieces of advice, making sure that they do a job shadow so you can actually see them in action. Like if they're
Hmm.
dilly dallying, get out of here. Like this is not a job where you dilly dally. We need to get the shoot done
Right.
in some amount of time. Go to the next shoot. Make sure like if there's things that need to be prepped at the house, like there's no time to dilly dally. And so yeah, great pieces of advice there and attention to detail. Seeing how you can measure that, seeing that in conjunction with seeing if they already have an eye, because if they already have an eye, even if they don't shoot real estate photography, they understand the rule of thirds, they understand hopefully symmetry if they're a normal photographer shooting other stuff, landscapes, people. So yeah, those are great things to look for. I wholeheartely agree with all that advice you just provided our audience. Three hustles, Jonathan. You got your Airbnb business, you got an e-course, and you teach through that, and then you
Hmm.
also have your photography business. Which one do you enjoy the most if you had to pick one?
Um, if I enjoyed the vacation rental the most, I would be doing that full time. Photography is definitely my first. It's not my first love because I didn't even study it to begin with. It's what I was born to do. It's what I was born for. When I scaled my business up for the first time and I had two employees, I actually took a back seat, if you will, as a shooter at least, where I was mostly managing and creating content for real estate photography masterclass. And I was not as happy as I was shooting. For me, I have found and experimented that one or two shoots a day for me, starting off in the day, in the morning especially, to get the day started, really puts me in a good mood. Then I come back and make sure everything's running smoothly with my employees, make sure that the feedback from all the edits are good. um, Sharing some stuff online, that's by far and away the my favorite. However, I will say that I'm not sure if real estate photography is the most profitable. If I'm to compare it to the amount of effort I put in versus the result. If you find a good vacation rental and do that as a passive income, and you have it set up right, that is the least that is my greatest return per unit of effort, if you will, if that makes sense, right? So there's something to be said for that, but I get a lot of fulfillment out of shooting and making sure the client is happy, and I also really get a lot of fulfillment of, man, the first time I had a student who went from nothing, and he was doing food delivery. Like I'm still here. Hold on, that's my 30-minute timer on the camera. Uh, he was doing a DoorDash. And the first time I had a student who went from doing DoorDash to over $10,000 in on their third month, like they did $10,000 in 1 month on their third month doing real estate photography from never doing it before. That was enormously fulfilling for me because they messaged me at the end of the month and they said, "Man, I really didn't think this was impossible. I really didn't think this was possible. I never imagined my life could be this good." And he's making much more than that now. And being able to change someone's life like that, or at least help them along the way, is enormous for me because there's a lot of people out there who are lazy, like we talked about earlier, just trying to screen employees and get a good one. There are also a lot of people out there who really can do well, they just haven't figured it out. So if you can show them, hey, I think this might be a good fit for you, you show them a little bit of the ropes, and then they just take off like a bird, I guess. Not to sound too sappy there. But
That's
man,
awesome to hear.
there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, I believe it and I see it and I feel it as well. So there's two types of people out there. You know, you have your employees, right, that you work with, and then you also have your agency owners that you're helping scale and grow their business. What's the difference? Like, for those who are listening that might not be an agency owner themselves,
Hmm.
why go work for someone else versus why try to start your own thing?
That's an excellent question. Owning a business isn't for everybody. I know, for example, I don't want to be one of like you help a lot of businesses throughout the country, right? Like that is something you probably really enjoy. It's not something I would want to do. I think helping a lot of people. I don't know. There's a reason why I like shooting objects that don't move and don't have like they're inanimate, right? I do very well with inanimate objects. I'm not a fantastic people person. I've learned that over time, right? You probably work a lot better with people than I do. So I'm not sure I could do a very good job doing what you're doing. In the same way, I think people who um, aren't ever going to own their own business, and I've had employees who say, for example, like, "Man, I'm going to be a big business owner one day," but they don't follow any of our directions. They can't show up on time for work. It's just like, man, I have bad news for you. I'm not sure if you're going to make it if you don't do some serious improvement because that doesn't make you a bad employee. I mean, it does make you a bad employee, but it makes you even worse boss, right? Like in a leader, you can't be showing up late for work and not pushing the envelope in your daily life. Um, I don't know. I think also a lot of people are too afraid of the risk that comes with it because the risk is real. I'm not going to say that it's just easy to start off a business on your own and deal with clients. You do have to learn some skills. And also, for example, I'm never going to do what you do just because not only do I think I wouldn't be very good at it, I'm not sure I would enjoy it just because I don't think, what you do isn't a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. It's just not for me. That's
What
all.
do you think I do, Jonathan? I don't
I
even know
have
what
no I so maybe you can talk about that because I
you.
think from what I've seen, um, it seems like you find real estate photographers who are doing well, who want to partner with someone and scale their business even more. That's in a nutshell. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's one of many hustles. Like you, I have several hustles. Um, One, I'm a big believer in investing, obviously in yourself, but like I invested in Tesla and Bitcoin fairly early on, and um, I invested in my own company early on. I just sold my first company for 500,000. It was a iPhone computer repair business, and that's where I first learned how to brand and do a little bit of marketing and sales and customer service. Actually, we ended up like with almost 1,000 Google reviews that were 5 stars, which was pretty awesome to see. Um, but right now I have many focuses. But the main focus that people know me for through ACRE Partner is coaching and consulting other agency owners on how to grow their business on both the usually there's two big challenges, right? How do I get more business, more revenue, more partnerships, and how do I build my team? How do I bring on the right people at the right time? How do I allocate the right resources in place to have a team that can support more business, more growth, more scale? But yeah, my other three hustles. Obviously, aerial canvas is how I created a name for myself in the space. Grew that to an agency that did 7 million last year. This year, we're gonna fall a little bit short on that revenue, as there are some headwinds. Working on a business in Seattle, which is a smaller version of aerial canvas called ACRE Agency ACRE Seattle, and then I do work on a staffing business as well. I have a small
Cool.
minority stake in a staffing business. So those are all the things that I work on. And then the last one, in conjunction with ACRE Partner, helping other agency owners, is creating an operating system for agency owners similar to REO and HD Photo Hub. It's called Tonimo. So that's the last one. And it sounds like I do a lot of things, but there's a vision, right? The vision is I everything's an ecosystem. The staffing company can help my businesses as well as other businesses towards growing their team with overseas employees. When I reach out to agency owners that are interested in growing, I can get them results through ACRE Partner, and I can help them see better results as well through Tonimo, which is the software that can help automate and scale their business. And then the cool part about Aerial Canvas and ACRE Agency is that those are actual businesses that are applying and doing the actual things that I am, quote unquote, selling in terms of strategy, what I'm consulting on. So everything has full circle. If I can find a really cool idea that my partners, my clients, my students, they're working on, I can potentially take that and bring it to my business. If we've done something successful, I can bring that to them. And so it's an ecosystem where we're sharing knowledge. And my goal ultimately is to create something bigger than me. And Aerial Canvas is in ways that where I've put a CEO in place to a point where we have a team of over 100 if you include our overseas staff, and that's exactly what I hope to create with ACRE Partner, is a community that builds each other up. So if I were to pass, if I were no longer around, if I just ended up in a island as a monk or something, that community that we've built at ACRE Partner can support each other's growth in the same way that I'm trying to support each other's growth, where we share the strategies, we share even the assets. Like I will take a brochure or like a coupon or a design or a concept, an email, and I'll share with my partners. And if we can do something successfully for Aerial Canvas, why not bring some of that recipe and that secret sauce to other agency owners? And that's all in hopes of them being able to do that the same for me, because I think there's a lot of challenges as a larger business where I got a little bit frustrated with Aerial Canvas. Why does it take so long to roll out a new product? Why does it take so long to innovate on this? Whereas these smaller agencies, they're nimble, they're quick. That's what I enjoy doing in Seattle. That's why I enjoy working with these smaller agency owners, where, hey, we have an idea and we execute on it next week, versus an idea Aerial Canvas might take 3 months to even
and the truth is, especially when you're a small business, like when you have something that you really needed to do for a long time and you finally do it, it seems like such a big task, but then once you do it, it's like, man, why didn't I do that so long ago? And man, if you have people around you like this, I mean, I'm not an ACRE partner, but I'll definitely, I'm interested. When you have people who are like, hey, so we were having this issue, or we hit a plateau with our revenue, we tried this out and it works super well. Here's what we did. Go try it out, right? That would be huge. Also, I don't want to knock you at all. I want to commend you enormously for doing all those things, because I know once you learn how to put in systems, once you learn how to scale and hire the right people, for example, you can do a lot. You were talking about Elon Musk earlier. Elon Musk has done PayPal, he's done SpaceX, he's done Tesla, and now he's doing Twitter. And he did all three absolutely incredibly. I mean, he was the underdog in all three of those endeavors, right? So a lot of people might hear that, oh, Brendan, it sounds like you're doing too much. It's like, nah, like if you can do it, then do it. And if you've already built a small business, like, hey, the iPhone repair business, I took my iPhone to get repaired the other day. It's a really good business. Like it's the beauty of it is, just like real estate photography, you have a small thing that you're trying to do and repeat it. So you have a small little engine and you're just trying to get as much intake of fuel and air into that engine and exhaust it out. So the system is simple, but you're wondering how efficient and how fast can I make it run? And once you do that with a little iPhone repair business and sell it for $500,000, I would love to talk to you more about that, by the way, because I've always been interested. If we get real estate photography businesses, for example, to run themselves, where you've been running it for a few number of years, like me, and if I wanted to, I could train a CEO to run my business and just keep scaling it as much as I want. I've always wondered, like, I wonder how much you could sell a business like that for if you
Yeah.
were not a variable in the equation. Do you have any
Yeah.
experience like that?
Yeah.
But to close off, like, huge kudos to you for ACRE and all the things you have done. I did not know all those things about you, and I think you should share that more because I don't think a lot of people know about it. Because I tried researching you a little bit more, and I couldn't find that stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm just an idiot who doesn't know how to use Google.
No,
But
no, it's like, I guess it depends on how deep you look. One of the students I work with, um, Bronson, at CPV Media, I might say this regretfully, but he went to my YouTube channel and he saw a post I made in college that I posted on Reddit, where it was like a self-affirmation thing. Like, I was some skinny kid, like 21 years old, with like wearing a hat that wasn't totally not my style, and I was just like, I'm gonna crush my goals and, do everything in my life. And he's just like, I watched that. I was like, that's still online. What the heck? So he dug real deep before he signed up for coaching, and now we consistently work together.
oh
But
man,
you're absolutely right. You look at, I think, like, I wanted to tie together that thought that you had, which was, a lot of people, they think that there is a lack of focus when you have a lot of things, but ultimately it's all about intention, and it's all about how each thing feeds into one another. I think, like, you can say that you don't have enough time to go to the gym because you're working so much, but going to the gym potentially will give you the physical energy, because when you go to the gym, it actually, enhances your physical state and mindset and clears your mind, and you actually become more productive and you get more out of your day. That 30-minute investment actually yields an hour of extra productivity, just in your overall state. If you can be in a better mental clarity and physical state, even by 5%, 5% of 16 hours is almost another hour even. So,
right? It
there's an
is,
ROI on everything. Yeah.
mm,
And with
especially when
you,
you learn how to take advantage of your time. And I found that there's, like you were saying, there's two types of people. You know, not everything is binary, if you will, but a lot of things are. A lot of things are binary. And I said before, you can kind of choose between two roads. Either you're someone who learns sales and how to get through things, or you're someone who doesn't learn that, and then you just avoid that your entire career. That's going to make you suffer. In the same way, lots of people who don't learn how to be efficient and self-disciplined and responsible for their time end up being very inefficient and irresponsible with their time, and it turns into a death spiral because they make an excuse, for example, of, you know what, I don't need to go to the gym today. I'm tired. I need a day off. This will just be my cheat day. To where it's like, oh man, I feel so bad and unenergetic. I don't think, working out is all it's meant to be. And then you start getting out of shape, and it's harder to put in that 12-hour day when you need to put that 12-hour day.
exactly. On the opposite side of that, you mentioned Elon, right? How,
Yeah.
like, beyond like Twitter now, SpaceX, Tesla, Boring Company, Neuralink, and all of these things that he's had his hand in. I think the most important thing is, like, creating that upward spiral of momentum that he has with
Yeah.
his companies, which is building the machine that builds the machine. His
Right.
company and his voice and his track record is something that keeps attracting the best investors, the best scientists, the best engineers. That he's not building every, tiny little chip and module that, it is makes the Model 3. He
Mhm.
has a team that believes in his vision, that is driven by his vision. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at some point when you have 100,000 employees that are bought into changing the world. And even if Elon passes, and he will, his legacy will continue because he has created a multi-billion, now potentially multi-trillion-dollar company that feeds into itself and is like this giant upward spiral of value creation and
Mhm.
just creating value both ways from within and throughout the world. So I think that's like the exact opposite of what you just described, where you have one individual who neglects his health, neglects his duties, and it neglects his responsibilities, and has that downward spiral. If you can't afford, you wake up late, you lose a client or you lose a job, then you get depressed, you don't want to work out, then it's even harder to get a job when you might be overweight and in a shitty mindset. And
Right.
that's the opposite. So my advice always to entrepreneurs is see how you can create an upward spiral, like create that upward momentum, because momentum, I think, is actually the most underrated, um, one of the most underrated things in entrepreneurship. Once you start building that momentum with your clients, right? You have 10 clients, all of a sudden next month you get 15, and then next month you're at $10,000 a month, like you said, right?
Right. And in your case, it sounds like you work with a lot of people who make 50,000 or even more, which is why I say mostly work with single photographers and small teams, but I know there's potential out there to make millions a year, like you did with Aerial Canvas, um, in the industry, and it truly does come back to the opposite of the death spiral. Well, you have an upward spiral that's going upwards, where you've just returning it back to before. You're hitting the gym, you're getting that foundational good health that helps you think just better for longer throughout the entire day so you can make better decisions. Um, you're not wasting your time with people who are negative around you or giving you undue criticism. And you're surrounding yourself and attracting people who are talented, who are hardworking. Man, when you start building that momentum, there's no stopping you. And you can do lots of things and succeed at them all, even if you have a ton of haters, because you and me combined don't have nearly the amount of haters as, someone like Elon Musk or the other people who are really standing up to a lot of hateful, awful things are happening in the
I wish
country.
I had as many haters as Elon Musk. That means I'd be filthy rich and famous and changing the world and doing so many great things.
Right.
Like, I think it comes with the territory. If you can't handle it, then maybe it's not for you, right? Like any celebrity or famous person, if they can't handle
Mhm.
the opposition, you know, I there will never be a scenario where someone does not have their fair share of adversity,
Mhm.
because that's what defines us. That's what creates, an amazing story, for us. If it was super easy, and I think we should probably do another podcast at some point so we can talk about through some of these things, because you are someone I very much enjoy speaking with, Jonathan.
Well, thank
Is
you.
the challenges that the untold stories, right? Like, I have been depressed. I have been in a place where my mom's like, get a real job. I have been in a place where Aerial Canvas faced bankruptcy twice, where I had to borrow $250,000 because I got a little bit, overconfident in my abilities to grow it and scale it. And I was leveraged. I was margin. Like, I had, like, there are those challenges. And, that's something that is a friendly reminder, to everyone, be kind, for everyone is fighting their own battle. And not everything is greener on the other side. For a long time, I was looking at all of these other companies like, oh man, they're doing so well. I wish I could be like them. And when I got to a point where they were asking me how I did it, I'm like, it's not all rainbows and butterflies on this side. I thought it was rainbows and butterflies on your side. And
Right. Well,
so
man,
the
I
grass
mean,
is greener
sometimes
where you
these
water
Facebook
it.
Yeah, sometimes these Facebook groups where people share like their stats, you can't believe everything people just say, and it's a lot like Instagram. They brush over a lot of the stuff. But I also really appreciate what you said earlier when you said, I think you mentioned like 7 million is a little bit shy. Aerial canvas is a little bit shy of 7 million this year. A lot of people, are continuing to post like, I don't know why you guys are saying the market is down. I'm busy as ever. It's like, no, I mean, I have a pretty good read on how the markets work because we have
Well,
some very advanced analytics, and
the stats, yeah.
um, we've been having a plateau a little bit this year, and that is with cranking up our marketing like tenfold. So we're continuing to have a slight incline this year, but it's not but it's due to an extreme level of effort. If we had did what we did last year and just continue doing that, we would be down probably 20-30% this
Yeah.
year. So I really appreciate the fact that you were honest with that, because a lot of people will not be transparent because they're afraid of looking like weak or
I think there's
whatever.
a power
So
of vulnerability. If you're honest, and truthful and everything that you do, that goes a lot further than trying to be someone who is seemingly perfect, because there is no perfection. Imperfection is perfect.
hmm.
So, Jonathan, thank you so much for your time today. I'd love to continue this conversation with you. Let's do another episode when it makes sense for both of us. And
Yeah,
I hope the audience today got a lot out of this. For those who made it towards the end, Jonathan, thank you once again. I don't know if you want to plug your course or anything, or for those who are
sure.
listening here, if there's a little giveaway or promo that you can do for them.
Yeah, if you guys want to check it out, just go to realestatephotographymasterclass.com. We have over 200 videos and tutorials on everything you can possibly imagine, which, to my knowledge, is the single greatest resource for real estate photography education available. I don't market it like I could. That's about to change. So if you haven't heard of it, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you want to check it out, it would be great. Also, look out for my video that I'm going to be posting whenever you see this, because it's going to be a great video. I'm releasing a video on the single best definitive way to get clients in real estate photography. And I'm going to go into how to get a list of all the realtors in your area so you can start targeting them, how to use that list to analyze your market, and also create automated email campaigns so you can market these people all year without even spending any of your time.
Well, I call dibs. I want access to that. That sounds great. Let me know how much.